Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very latest CAD podcast. We're here tonight talking with Austin, who has joined us and decided to give us his time after a few G's and T's, I believe, down the pub, was it? Here we go.
It may very well have been.
Someone may well have been drowning their sorrows. We'll see how it goes, but we're here to talk about Fulham, we're here to talk about Roma, and we'll have a look ahead at Bournemouth. But let's just go straight to the topic in hand. Fulham. How did you see that? You didn't see this one, did you? At all? Like literally, you did not see it?
No, I didn't. My Fire Stick wouldn't work, and I couldn't get onto any of the streams, despite Lex sending me a stream over. Excuse me. It wouldn't work. It just said illegal something or other.
Yeah.
But I was following the BBC thread, and then I listened to the commentary in the second half, which is always very, very unnerving because it always sounds worse than it is. I'd far rather watch it than listen to the raised voices as they describe things.
It can be a little bit disconcerting, to be fair. I managed to watch it.
Especially at my age.
I managed to watch it just about. It wasn't the greatest watching experience. Not just the quality of the actual image I was watching, but also the football on offer. It was a bit strained. It was a bit stressed. It wasn't great. I mean, I think it's probably a good thing you weren't watching, because there was one point where Porro headed it back straight into the path of a Fulham player, and I think I almost had a heart attack at that point. So it may not have been good for you. It was
no,
that
absolutely
stressful.
Not.
That's the usual amount of knee jerking, I believe, has happened. Loads of people talking about Ange not being cut out for this level, and you know how he's never going to be able to make it, and how he's a fraud, and that's the happy people. So I'm still on the Ange train, loving the fact that we're trying to do stuff the right way. I'm also very well aware this is a project, and part of it being a project means we don't have all the pieces yet. We are not the fully fledged item we wish to be. That doesn't mean we can't win something this year. I've gone.
Well, we're in the quarterfinal of the League Cup for a start.
Yeah.
And that's further than we've got in that for a couple of years. And we're only a handful of points off second place. I mean, and we've got the second best goal difference in the league. So all the naysayers, I understand, because we all react emotionally, and some become very vociferous about it. And I tend to look at the positive side of things as being the optimist as ever. And yes, they frustrated the hell out of me. We beat City 4-0, but we could have lost to City. We could have been 3-0 down in the first 10 minutes against City. So until Maddison scored, I was thinking the worst. I was saying to my friends online that I thought we were going to get mullered. And I firmly believed it. And then when we scored a second, I still thought in the second half they would rock up and score 3.
So hang on, just very quickly. You thought we were going to get mullered. Is that a gentle nod towards Alan Mullery, who played for Spurs and Fulham? Is that who you're discussing? Is that your...
No, it's mullered is getting given a kicking.
That's what I thought you meant.
Yes.
We've been joined by David. Hey, David, how you doing?
Hi, David.
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're
All
good.
right.
We're good. We're discussing the match yesterday and our general feelings about it. I'll just catch you up. Mine is still a project, still ongoing, still not there yet, but still happy with the progress we're making.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I thought so. Those are my feelings. Everyone is allowed.
You were there, though,
own.
weren't you, David?
Yeah, I was there. I haven't been able to watch the match back, so anything I say is only about what I saw. Didn't have any replays or anything like that. I just thought, I mean, it's tough because we're missing so many players. And I think losing Solanke just before kickoff, that must have thrown organisation out the window, because suddenly instead of having Solanke's presence up front, we've got Sonny, and it's not at all the same thing. I find it hard to be anti-Ange about yesterday, but it was an absolutely miserable experience. Well, obviously I was with my son, so that's never a miserable experience. I was at the stadium, which is an amazing place, but the match we were pretty bloody awful. At least live, we were awful for large parts of that. And I don't know whether I should say it now or wait till we go live, but
we are live. You've joined us live.
I'll join you live. Okay, so
yeah.
So quite simply, for whatever reason, we had 3 players on the pitch who, if they don't score, they contribute nothing. And one of them assisted the other one scoring, and that was more or less their contribution for the entire match. And you can't win Premier League games with 3 passengers. And the passengers are Sonny, Werner, and Johnson. And I'm not getting at Johnson. Great, another goal, 10th goal. But you can't have 3 players like that in a starting 11. You just can't. I mean, they dominated us. They dominated us for most of the match. I mean, there's almost nothing positive I can take away from the match, really. And I'm saying we had Sonny, if he's not scoring, if he's not being a clinical finisher like he used to be, and if he hasn't got his pace anymore and can't like burst away and create chances like that, then what's the point? What's the point in having him? Really, apart from I don't want to be the guy that says shirt sales. Oh damn it! Now I am. But he contributed very little. Just not good enough. Three, and defensively, Porro had a torrid time. And who was supposed to be helping him? He needed help. He was not managing in either first half nor second half.
He didn't look fit to me.
Sorry?
I don't know what it looked like from in the stadium, but he just didn't look fit to me. There was one point where there was a break and he was just walking. The whole team was breaking and he was walking. He was so out of it.
The worst one for more or less walking on a break was Sonny in the last 10 minutes. I can't remember what minute it was. We had a break and Sonny was just jogging forward, and we had no one in the middle. And he was jogging. So I think they're tired. And that bodes ill because we've got a lot of games coming up. We've got a lot of games coming up. We've got a lot of players that I think our injury, I don't think Archie Graves is anything serious. Apparently it's a dead leg, so we should get him back. And probably Solanke too, because it was just, apparently he was unwell. So, although, Mikey Moore had a virus 4 weeks ago and he's still out. So we have strange viruses sometimes at Tottenham. No, but the thing wasn't about Porro being tired. It's about there wasn't anyone to help him. Johnson's defensive contribution was poor. You would expect the right-sided attacking players to come back and help, when it's like that. I assume he's being told to stay up on the halfway line, but, it was so obvious. I mean, it feels like a loss. We didn't lose the game, so it was a draw. Fair, but we should have lost that. We got away with one there.
There is definitely a feeling that they should have got more out of it. I mean, they looked the dominant side for fairly large chunks of the game. But I still came out of it feeling there was some elements that kind of had slightly green shoots. I mean, if you look at the players that were missing, okay, so we've got Vicario missing, who, frankly, I think we'd be lucky to see again this season. I know a lot of people saying he'll be back in February, but ankle injuries can go 6 months. If it's 6 months, he won't be back till May at the earliest. So for me, we might well be looking at Fraser Forster for the rest of the season. So Vicario was out.
Well, TFFF.
So, I think I guessed that. So Fraser Forster did very well. Excellent reflexes. There was another bit of a juggling thing, I think, in this game. Certainly against Roma, there was a juggle. He does love a juggle, that boy. And I can call him a boy because he's 36 and I'm 10 years older than him, so I'm good with it. Yeah. Then you've
Don't play the old card, Woodruff.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Also,
then we've got.
I can call him a. So you can call him a boy. I'll
Yeah.
call him a baby, and Austin, you can call him a fetus.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Then of course you've got Romero out, and then you've got Van de Ven. So you've got three crucial players who are, just a little bit incidental to the way we play, and all three of them were missing. And then, I mean, Bentancur.
Well, it's straight down the middle, isn't it? Because you also had the big man out up front, so
Solanke's missing.
Yeah.
The spine. Solanke was missing. Bentancur was missing the game because of suspension, and you could argue he probably would have started this game ahead of Bissouma. So, I mean, where do you fit these players in? I mean, the big question I think that kind of hangs over Ange's head is we bought players in the summer, and the only one he's really integrated into the side is Solanke. The others have been stuck to the side and made to wait for their position. And I kind of get it. Pochettino used to say we don't buy players to play, we buy them to train and work their way into the team. And maybe these players haven't shown themselves able to start a game yet. I mean, I think they're going to have to in the next 8 games because we are so busy. It's going to be mental. But if you buy young players, there's going to be inconsistency. And you kind of have to accept that. We bought one established Premier League player and he's played every minute that he's been available, basically, because no one else is able to come in, apart from Richarlison, who is fit for 20 minutes so far this season or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think we said after the second game of the season, or I did in any way, that the recruitment this summer, they did well targeting young players, but they didn't bring in players to reinforce starting or first backup places, and that's a problem for our recruitment this summer.
That new Korean kid comes in two weeks today.
Yeah, but how old is he? He's 18, isn't he? I'm not expecting much.
I think.
I don't know. I'm not expecting much for the first 6 months or a year.
Nor am I.
No, I doubt he'll feature at all, frankly. I mean,
he's
another
Granny, another Bergvall, another.
He's been asked to come back earlier. He was originally due to come in January, and they've asked him to come in December.
Yeah, they want him to come in so that they can evaluate his fitness and they want to see how he does in training. But they're not gonna rush him into games. He's just played a full season in Korea, so after a full season in Korea, the guy needs a break. So he's going to have a couple of weeks and then come in, and they're going to evaluate him for injuries and freshness and slowly integrate him. I'll look forward to watching him in the under-21 games. I'm sure he'll get some time in there, but I don't expect to see him even on the bench, I think, until the end of the season. Maybe the last game. Maybe against Tamworth. We'll see. Did you see we got Tamworth in the FA Cup?
Oh, have we?
Yes. The lowest ranked side in the FA Cup. Because it's at Tamworth.
I think Paul Dowse posted that he wanted Tamworth.
He did, but he wanted it at Tottenham.
Oh, he's got half his wish.
He's got half what he wanted. But, Manchester United got Arsenal. That makes things fun.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Fulham. My only major complaint against Fulham is the lack of sending off. There is no way Lukic should not have been sent off. Apparently, I've been listening to another rival podcast. They're not really rivals to us. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of good podcasts out there and people should be listening to them. I was listening to another podcast today and the guy on there seemed fairly knowledgeable, and he said if calling it back would lead to a sending off, you cannot play advantage. You have to, if you play advantage and then the next thing. If you then go back and yellow card them and it's a second yellow card, you can't do that. You're just not able to do it. And I think that if that is the rule, that is a dumbass, stupid rule, and it should absolutely be looked at, because there is no way that Lukic should have been left on the pitch after basically assaulting Sonny.
Well, that was an absolute disgrace, and I haven't heard of that rule before, but nothing will surprise me anymore. There was another thing that was absolutely infuriating, absolutely, and I really think something needs to be done about this. So, in the sending off, so there was a sending off, and a Fulham player got a message from the touchline to give a message to the goalkeeper to go down injured. And he told his goalkeeper to go down injured. And the goalkeeper was sitting there for about 3 or 4 minutes. It probably seemed like 10 minutes in the stadium.
5 minutes it was.
Before the sending off, before anyone came out, he was sitting down there. And then once the sending off had been done, then they sent somebody on to treat him. I think that they should not have allowed someone on to treat him, or they should have put someone on told them to get someone on there to treat him immediately. It was an absolute outrage. I mean, to be honest, 7 minutes of extra time when you had all that going on, had loads of stuff going on in extra time, and there wasn't hardly 1 second of overtime to the extra time added. So there were 3 things that really got my gander up. And also, why did it have to go to VAR to go to the sending off? That was ridiculous as well.
That was the other thing. Genuinely, I thought that referee was terrible. I thought he managed to do it very, very badly.
I was listening to it. I don't know whether David heard that. I didn't see any of the game. I've only seen the highlights since. So I followed on the BBC trail in the first half, and in the second half I got the commentary on. But it sounded like they were kicking lumps out of us.
They were.
They were pretty physical, yeah. I didn't feel like they were Matty Cash physical or anything. But the problem was that the referee let too much go. And
he didn't get a hold of the game at any point, I think.
Yeah.
And
I didn't feel like generally they
sending off, it had to go to VAR, and he had to go and look at the side, and it's like
ridiculous.
You really shouldn't have to have that called back. I mean, you should have seen that the guy went on the studs down the back of Kulusevski's leg. I mean, it was a blatant foul, a blatant red card foul. So for him to have to be called back, it was ridiculous.
The difference with Dejan Kulusevski on the pitch to without him was huge in terms of expectation of stuff going on. He really put himself about. I just want to make a couple of points. So, like I said, there's no point going in on Ange because we were missing so many players. What can you do? So I'm going to talk about. I've already talked about having 3 passengers. 3 players that contribute nothing if they're not scoring, and that's a massive problem. But I don't know who we could have put on in their place. So I don't have a solution to that. But I just pointing out that Sonny, Johnson and Werner contribute nothing apart from assists and goals. And if they're not doing that, then they shouldn't be in the team. So number 1. Number 2 was I was shocked by the timidity of our attacking play. It was slow. The ball was to feet. When people like Werner, I'm going to give it again, but he's not the only one. When they got the ball and had some space in front of them, they didn't attack the space. They sort of timidly pushed the ball and then turned around and looked for a pass back. It was a very timid attacking performance. And when you can compare it to the really quite well developed attacking from Fulham, they had some stuff where it looked like they were on the training ground passing it around between themselves. It looked amazing, and we didn't have any of that. So it was the timidity of our attacking, and also the total absence in our central midfield for large portions. We seemed to be wide and high up, and then in the middle of the pitch there was just nobody, neither Sarn nor Bissouma nor Maddison for large periods. They were either quite far back or out on the sides. The middle was just empty. It was really weird. It was really weird. Even like if you watch the build up to the goal, look at that was the only thing that could have happened. I should think that their manager was absolutely furious with that goal. furious. He's probably spent a week saying, "Watch out for Johnson on the back post." You know, he spent a week saying it, and then we score on the back post from, quite frankly, a pretty shit cross, a pretty shit attack, and there was absolutely nothing else on. There was nothing else on. We weren't creating options. Well taken goal by Johnson though. Super.
Oh, I thought that finish. They said it was quite a simple tap in. I thought it was an
not.
absolute quality tap in.
It was a very good finish. Yeah, I agree with you, Austin. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually thought Werner's cross was excellent. He spotted him and he played the ball perfectly for him.
But it was like, you know, it was kind of a looping cross that you would expect a defence to deal with, you know.
Yeah, but
Well,
it
no,
was
because
different
Johnson
to what
was
we
a little
normally
bit deeper
do.
than he normally is. So I think he deliberately. I think he hung back in space. That's. But again, I've only seen the highlights, so I didn't
Yeah,
see.
and I only saw it like live immediately, the goal, you know. So I don't know. Just the way it looked to me was, it looked like a kind of a cloche, a bell-shaped, you know, a chipped lob cross, and you would expect either the goalkeeper or the back post defender to be getting in there and getting a.
I don't think anyone could have got close to it because of the shape. I think they were expecting him to be further in, for Werner to go to the byline, and I think Werner spotted Johnson and played a perfect pass. I thought it was a well-crafted goal.
But as I said, that was the only thing that was on in that attack. There was nothing else coming through the middle. It was, you know,
I suspect Fulham have been looking at video of our team and going, right, they're going to go to the byline, they're going to go to the byline, and they kept pushing Werner in and stopping him from actually getting down to the byline. And it was all he could do, and it worked. I mean, I hope this is a plan, because it would be nice to see that kind of thing more often in the future. But generally, I don't want to join the hate on Timo Werner, but I didn't think it was his greatest game. He's had worse games. He's had a lot better games. And this one, he didn't seem to attack the space. As you said, it wasn't really played through for him to attack the wide open areas. But the same thing with Johnson. And this is something we talked about at the start of the season. A number of times the ball was played to feet so that they had to slow down to wait for the ball and then get it. And we seem to kind of regress to it. Again, maybe that's down to Porro just not being fit enough. For me, he should have been taken off around the 50-55 minute mark and Spence brought on. But he just did not look fit enough for me for that entire game. Anyway, hello Ash, how you doing?
Ashley!
I've been joined. The fourth member of the team has joined us.
Guys,
how you doing?
In fact, that is the longest Ash has gone without speaking in the entirety of these podcasts.
I think he's ill, or his microphone isn't working.
And he hasn't mentioned Ben Davies. He's been on at least 10 seconds.
I am ill, actually. I've been ill for the last 6 days.
Oh, mate, no.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But thank you. But I just have, because I'm working on a script, I have a theme for what I've seen this season. It's kind of like with the combination of inconsistency and injuries, win-loss, draw. I've got a title for our season, and it's kind of worn me out, which is why I think I got sick. And the title is It's Unbelievable, because I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. And it's wearing on me. I don't think bad about the players or the manager or anything like that. It's just kind of worn me out, you know. I didn't get up because I wasn't well until I think the 65th minute, because it was on early here. So I only saw their goal, and that's about all I actually saw. So
that's a very nice haircut.
Thanks. A woman did it.
Okay.
I mean, it was one of two options.
With a lot of love.
No, I think that's very early 2000s.
On the West Coast, Stu, there are probably lots more options, but never mind.
More options than that's true.
I used to get it cut by
absolutely
those
not.
Those other options. Anyway, what have I missed? What have Dave obviously hates everything. Austin, I agree with you. That was a good pass. But I swear though, overall, the whole season has just been. You just look at the record: win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, draw, draw. It's like holy Jesus, you know. So
Okay, my
I
take
don't
on this, and this, it means nothing because it's only my take on it. But my take on it is, if a team is willing to come and try and play football with us, we'll have a good game and we've got a very good chance of winning. If a team wants to come and niggle and kick us and try and nick a win and play negative football, then we struggle. And I think if you look at every single team we've struggled against this season, that's been the way it's gone. We've only bucked that trend once, I think, and that was Aston Villa. Aston Villa came to niggle and not play great football, and we managed to roll them over. The rest of the time, any team actually tried to step up and go toe-to-toe with us, we've actually done them. Or we've put in a good effort.
Just to add, great point. Just to add one other game, Arsenal came and played that niggly type game, low block, and it was ugly.
Beat us.
And beat us.
Yeah.
And they beat us.
That's what I'm saying. So. They played the kind of game that is gonna beat us. To be fair, West Ham, don't remember West Ham trying too hard to play football, but then West Ham are absolutely awful this year. So, I don't think that's really.
At half time, I said to the geezer sitting next to us that against these sorts of teams, I think the Ange thing is we keep on, and we wear them out. But at half time, I said to the guy sitting next to me, we haven't tired them out at all. We haven't put them under any pressure in that first half at all. There's no way they're going to be tiring second half. We're probably more likely to tire after that. Can I have a little question that I'm not sure about? Once Solanke proved to be too ill to play, do you think it was the right decision to put Son in the middle?
No.
Or do you think we would have been better off starting Declan, even if he wasn't fit for a whole match, and bringing on, for example, Son or Johnson against hopefully tired players, rather than what we actually did, which was the other way around? Maybe Declan was only fit enough to play 30 minutes. But, like I said, I'm not going to criticise Ange about that match particularly. But if I've got one kind of question mark, it is from the moment Solanke was too ill to play, I think Decky should have started. And either Son or preferably Johnson dropped to the bench and come on against tired legs.
Dave, excellent point, but you also bring up a bigger point, and Charlie and I were talking about this last season, to do with Sonny. Sonny's got, 2 goals this season? That's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I think we got a problem there. We actually have. Yeah. He's 32 years old. He's been fantastic. He has lost half a yard of pace. And that's, for a striker, that's the biggest thing. And you can't just contribute 2 goals. You can't.
Especially when you're missing, was at the other end? I was in the south stand, so his massive chance in the first half was the other end of the pitch, but it looked eminently scoreable to me.
He should
and
have
the Sonny of old would have scored that. Yeah.
He had 2 good chances and didn't
did.
take either of them.
So Charlie and I were talking about last season. What do we do about it? Because it's an obvious problem.
Well, Barcelona want him.
Really?
I know what I'd do.
No, they don't.
I think they do.
No,
they
don't.
do.
This last season, sell him when we can.
I said sell him at the end of last season, so.
Yeah,
but Stuart made the valid point a little earlier, in that he's worth too much to the club to sell him in terms of the marketing in the Far East.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll sell him.
Hey, we got a new South Korean coming on.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I said about that a bit before you came on.
Yeah. And I said about Sonny before you came on, Ash, you've missed everything. I said, Sonny is not the dead-eyed predator that he has been in the past. And if he's lost not half a yard, but at least a yard of pace, I think more than that, actually, to be honest, then what is the point of Sonny, apart from the fields?
I totally agree. And
I
then you're left.
I still feel Sonny is better out wide.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stu.
Yeah, I think Sonny's better out wide. My question is, why wasn't Timo Werner playing through the centre? He's done it before. He did it for Chelsea. He's done it in his previous clubs. And frankly, his pace could have scared the absolute living daylights out of the Fulham players, because none of them are particularly quick in the centre.
And he skinned Kyle Walker last week.
Exactly.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Left him for dead.
So I mean, but Fulham have some good players, and Fulham have a good manager who sets them up to play the way that he wants them to play. And I mean, they've done well against us in the past. Frustrating us. I know they hadn't won for a long time, but they frustrated us. I remember last season, the one game particularly, we just banging our heads against a brick wall for a while. It just never seemed like it was going to work out. But I don't look at yesterday's result and say it was a nightmare.
Did you guys bring up the injury issue? What's going on? Apparently,
we kind of touched on it.
Yeah. So what's going on? Is it Ange's training?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because when you look at the injuries, Van der Ven happened in match, right? Richarlison happened in match, and they did everything to get him back fit and to keep him fit, and he broke down, and that's not on Ange. Romero did it to himself in match. Archie Gray in match. I can't remember who else is out.
Van der Ven.
Rodrigo Bentancur did it to himself.
but Dave, is the training causing them to break down in the match if they're actually, because apparently I had heard, and Stu, you would know more, that this sort of thing happened, this sort of things happened in his previous clubs. Then there is a theme there is a thread that perhaps the type of training, and I don't know it, is actually making us more susceptible to having these breakdowns, because it's ridiculous.
Think you have to look at the bigger picture, Ash, because we aren't the only club with excessive injuries. There are other clubs with a lot of injuries. I think it's the intensity of play that we have nowadays.
Well, okay, then bigger squads then. And
the length of stoppages as well in match.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
I don't think that helps.
If you remember the Chelsea game last year, Van der Ven.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. Van der Ven stood there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Getting cold.
Yeah.
I think this is something we need to actually look at. I mean, straight after that game, I was saying, right, if we get any more long stoppages, if it looks like it's going to be a break where it's going to take an age to sort out, our players should be doing shuttle runs back and forth, making sure they're staying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It will look somewhat ridiculous. And at some point,
but it doesn't matter. I think we should be doing that. Yeah, I agree with you.
It can't go on for long, but it needs to be addressed, certainly. If you've got a player who goes down like Leno, who's deliberately sitting there wasting time, our players, their muscles are tightening up, they're getting cooler, they're just opening themselves up to injuries. I don't think it's the training, because if you're going to say training, then you say, right, well, is there a staff member who is causing this kind of problem? Unless that's Ange, it can't be, because none of them were with him at Celtic. And yes, there were these injuries in his first season at Celtic. There were similar injuries in his first season at Yokohama F. Marinos. But they didn't go into the second season. It was a case of they got used to playing that way with that kind of level of intensity, and their bodies adapted. And so far, there's only been one player, I believe, who's had that. Well, one player who's been with the club for more than a season who's had a recurrence. And, sadly, Van der Ven, he had those problems while he was in Germany as well. So it's not a brand new thing for him.
Speed merchants often have hammy problems.
Yeah. We need to look at his sports cards. Remember Ryan Giggs? He had loads of hamstring injuries, and then they got a specialist in and said, right, show me where the problems are. And he went back through the problems. He said, okay, what have you got parked in the car park? He said, I've got a Ferrari. And he said, okay, we'll get rid of that. So he switched to a Land Rover and never had another problem. So, yeah. Maybe everyone needs to be driving Land Rovers.
Good point.
Good cars.
The new ones are.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, let's move away from Fulham. I think we've discussed it. Let's have a very quick discussion on the
before
Roma
we
match.
do. I thought
Okay,
the
go on.
Lancashire should have come on at half time because he has a physicality and he'd
Why
have been
didn't he start?
a focal point.
Why couldn't he have started?
Yeah.
I think he's too young. I think he's too young. He's only had one appearance so far, and that was in Europe.
Yeah, well, Greg was 18 before we started him. So we started him at some point, and then he played. Why not? I think, given the injury crisis, and I'm sure you guys touched on it, some of the substitutions are late, and he's not using the squad. Where is Spence? He's just not. What's going on? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, Spence has just come back from injury
Actually, I
himself.
totally
so
agree.
that's an
Jed
issue.
Spence for Porro was a no. For me, it was just a no-brainer. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
Just
that
do not.
was my big one as well. But I mean, he has just come back from injury, so maybe they're bearing that in mind. They didn't want to overburden him. But I mean, they talked earlier on in the season about not playing Sonny too much. Frankly, he's playing too much right now. He looks tired.
Yes.
You know, we got to try and manage minutes, but we don't make proper use of our squad to manage minutes, I think. And you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of Ange, but I do think that is potentially a failing. So I think we need to bring in one or two actual first teamers in the summer, whether it's just again on a loan like Timo Werner was last season, just someone who can flesh out the squad a little bit and who can add a little bit to the team. Just experienced players who know how to play the game and not 18, 19-year-olds.
Great. No, that's great. But Stu, that's the summer. How do we get to the summer?
No, I'm saying January.
What?
I thought you said summer.
January.
You did say summer.
I said
Yeah, you
until
said
the summer.
summer.
I thought. Okay, well, I meant January until the summer. So sorry for missing.
Well, say what you mean.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I knew what you meant, Stu. These two are just being
well.
nasty to you.
It's okay. Look. I've been dealing with all three of my kids today. It's my brain is slightly frazzled. In the intro on Blue Sky, I put we would be looking ahead to the Brighton game. It's like it's not the first time I've mixed up Brighton and Bournemouth. So anyway, it will all work out fine, I'm sure.
And can I do a Rodrigo Bentancur here? It's the South Coast. They all look the same.
No, you can't.
I didn't get that.
Good. Let's move on. Okay. So the Roma game. I don't remember seeing a game as open as that at Tottenham Hotspur in 5 years, since the days of Pochettino, and even then, I think it wasn't that open. I mean, either side could have scored 5 or 6 goals. It could have been 5-5 that game. It was an incredibly open, incredibly attacking, intriguing game. But yeah, there was some heart attack moments in it, honestly, and it wasn't a surprise that we ended up dropping some points in that.
I thought Roma played incredibly well in the last 20 minutes. And they were very good in the last 20 minutes, and we weren't. But
how unlike Ranieri to actually play an attacking brand of football.
Yeah, people are saying that. I have to say, I kind of have a soft spot for Ranieri. I know he's ex-Chelsea. I know he's ex-Leicester. But Ranieri's one of those people who... He's one of those grand old men of football. He's been around for years and years and years. And there's something you've got to admire. You know, the experience he's got, the teams he's managed, and, you know...
The Italian Roy Hodgson.
I just admire Ranieri as a guy. He's the Italian Roy Hodgson, except maybe a little bit more attacking and slightly more entertaining. But at the same time as I was watching, I was going, right, you know, I don't really want us to cause too much pain to him, but this is a guy that probably cost us a league title, because that Leicester season was our best chance of winning a title in a very long time.
Yeah. He did, and
although we came third that season.
Yeah, but he played the most deplorable brand of football, and won, like Greece winning those Euros whenever that was, 2002 or something. Deplorable brand of football and won, and Pochettino
did
tried
work,
to play
though.
real. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was a very fun, attacking, entertaining game.
Yeah, it was.
Could have ended up 5-1. Could have ended up 5-1. Either way, could have ended up 5-all. It was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I mean, it was a nuts game. It was just an absolutely nuts game. So yeah, I really don't think there's too much to say on that. Let's have a look ahead.
Actually, I'd just like to say one thing, which is I think for a draw, we tired out a few key players in that match that were then not available for the following match properly, and I think that was a shame. Don't know whether it was the right decision or the wrong decision.
Solanke,
notably Solanke as well. Yeah.
Solanke, yeah.
Yeah, Solanke seemed to tweak his groin in that one. I was surprised he actually stayed on the pitch.
Yeah, I thought when he wasn't on the team sheet yesterday, I thought it was because of his groin after that tackle where he got his sort of foot ripped and hurt his groin. But
hey, did you guys bring up Forster? Because I think he's been the 2 games he's played has been terrific. Surprisingly,
yeah,
terrific.
we did. We very quickly talked about how good he'd been.
He was great against Roma as well.
He was.
Yeah.
This is the guy who Lionel Messi described as the wall when Barcelona played Celtic.
Right.
This is a guy who's got a wealth of experience. I think he's not as bad as some people have said. The times he's played, I think the most distressing time I've seen him play was when he played Fulham last season and Coventry this season. I didn't think he excelled in either of those games, but apart from that, he's pulled our fat out of the fire on a number of occasions with some fantastic saves. Against Galatasaray, there was some really quick reaction saves in there that Vicario would have been proud to have on his record. Absolutely. So I don't think we're in a majorly bad way. Frankly, I know Ange said in press conferences that we're not looking to bring anyone in January in terms of the goalkeeping position. That may be a little bit of press gamesmanship, but it also may be the truth, because
it could be the truth.
If they're getting the results back on Vicario and they're saying, well, it is going to be February or March, then they'll say, well, okay, we can go with was it T triple F? You called him
T quadruple F.
Am I right in thinking that
Fraser Forster?
Am I right in thinking that Vicario hasn't missed a league game until yesterday?
Yeah, apparently he reached his 50th game, the same game as Ange did, starting all 50 games that Ange was managing.
Well, Forster's got to be a little bit ring rusty because he hasn't played many games. Last year we didn't play many cup games because we got knocked out early doors.
Yeah,
and this year he's only played 3 or 4 games at the most.
3, I think. Yeah.
He
did say that he was interviewed on Spurs Play after the game, as was Ange, and he said it was not easy to just come in and play as a one-off thing, and knowing that you were going back to being, on the bench in the next game. And that's not only going to be true for him, that's going to be true for people like Radojay Shin and, hold the applause, Ash, Ben Davis. You may now
Ben Davis.
Applaud Ben Davis. Ben Shiner Davis. Yeah, he was really good, and I'm really happy that apparently we're going to be triggering his option for another season, because
I triggered his option ahead of Sally's option, actually.
Frankly, I don't see who we could get in that would be better to sit on the bench, come in and play the occasional game, and just be ultra reliable when he does get to play. He doesn't cause any kind of fuss.
He's probably just played 5 in a row, hasn't he? 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah, but he's not expected to play 5 in a row, is he? I mean, he's not. We're not expecting him.
No, but
at the start of the season, he wasn't going to be a first teamer. Now he's a first teamer.
But Stu, when Van der Ven goes back down again, he'll be available.
I also think Ben's showing quite some good leadership in defence as well. Like, he's not just defending well, but I think he's also talking to the players around him quite well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
think the guy's a future coach or manager, isn't he?
Oh, he is, yeah.
He is. He's just solid.
Apparently, he's already doing his badges.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. He's just solid.
So yeah.
Listen, so just in terms of goalkeepers, because we've still got a bunch of games before January, will that guy Austin, do you think, get a game, or is Forster going to play every single game?
Decky was saying online the other day that he said we've got two very good goalkeepers in reserve. We've got we've got Forster, but he said Brandon Austin is also a very good goalkeeper, as opposed to Whiteman, who I've seen and I thought he was all right, Whiteman, when I've seen him play, but I can't comment anymore.
So Austin's got to get a game in before the end of this month, because you can't have Forster playing every single game, every 3 days.
I think it depends what happens in the Ranger game. If we beat Rangers, then effectively we've qualified for the next round. We'll be in the top 8, because we need to get one win out of the next 3 to qualify. So
yeah, but if
we beat Rangers, then he can play in Germany, and he can play when we've got the Swedish side. Is it Swedish or Danish? Elfsborg.
Yeah, but Stu, you still got to play Man U in the Carabao Cup, and we've got all the Premier League games.
Yeah.
That's essentially most of the games for the rest of the month.
Right.
I don't care if we play Forster
I'd be
for all the
playing...
games. Well, I just play Forster for all the games. He needs to practice.
Do you think he can? No, I'm just wondering, can he play? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Why couldn't he?
Yeah, I'd say he
I
can.
don't know.
This was my thing at the start of the season when everybody's going on about, oh, you need a second goalkeeper, you need a second goalkeeper. Turns out they were right, but I was like, well, yeah, why do we need to have someone come in and sit on the bench? And why is Fraser Forster getting games? Because goalkeepers don't do a lot of running. They don't tend to break down in terms of fatigue or anything like that. You know, you can play 50 games a season as a goalkeeper. Yeah. You can play more.
Pat Jennings and Pete DeShilton played till in their 40s. There's no reason why Forster at 35, 36 can't play plenty of games.
Yeah, but they are playing more games right now. I would actually like to see bigger squads allowed to take for all teams, not just us, for all teams, because they're not going to reduce the amount of games. So bigger squads would help.
It's too unfair on the smaller teams. It's already unfair at the size.
Yeah, I mean
I
think that's the way it goes.
That's money, David, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to change because we're controlled by money.
Well,
being cynical.
Let's wait and see what happens on the 115 charges.
Yeah, but that's been going on. What's happening?
Apparently, we may not even know what the results are until after the season has ended. But that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on for now? 3 seasons?
No.
We may get a belated League Cup.
It's going on for 14 or 15 years, hasn't it, Stu?
No, I think the charges go back 14 or 15 years, but the actual investigation goes back, or since they actually opened everything, it goes back at least 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, so Stu, the question is why did they only start the investigation 3 or 4 years ago when it was obvious to anybody with eyes that they were doping financially?
Oh, I don't know about doping, but I think you mean financially doping. Yeah, financially doping. It's after the leaks were made with the German newspaper, whose name currently escapes me.
Der Spiegel.
So there was a German newspaper.
Spiegel,
yeah,
wasn't
Spiegel. That's it. Yeah, that's right. So somebody hacked Manchester City's email server and released a whole load of their emails and sent it to Der Spiegel, and basically they got taken to court and they managed to beat it because it was like fruit of the poisonous tree, because there was no
they beat it because it's the statute of limitations.
They could pay more for lawyers.
No, was
it statute of limitations?
Yeah. Yeah, the accusations were too old, so they wouldn't hear them. But Der Spiegel only embarrassed the authorities into acting. The authorities should have acted previous to that. Anyway, but this is a whole other subject. It just infuriates me. It infuriates me. And it's not the subject.
Generally, I think you and I are equally infuriated by the way that money has infiltrated its way into football and just controlled everything, because Manchester City and Chelsea, neither of those clubs should have had the success that they've had if everything had been on a level playing field.
Right.
I'm not sure I agree with the American way of doing things, where every club has a salary cap and things like that. But I think the way things are going next year, where there's only a certain amount of your turnover you can be spending on wages, it's going to work out much better for us. It's going to be horrendous for clubs like Everton, who need to drop something like 40 million a year off their salaries. But yeah, we'll see. But for Tottenham, we've got like the biggest headroom available. We should be able to make some decent signings in January and in the summer.
Yeah, we definitely will as well.
If the purse strings are opened.
Yeah, that was me being ironic.
Yes.
Ironic or sardonic?
Both. Ironically sardonic.
I call you Prince. What is the noun for being sardonic?
Sardonicus. I quite like sardonicus that you used the other day for me.
I did. I called you that something, right?
Yeah, I've already had the T-shirts printed, so please don't change it.
Great, I'll buy one. A large piece, yes.
Okay, so
yeah, I don't know how we're going to get through the next months. I don't know how we're going to get through them with the amount of injuries we've got and the way we've been using the squad. I'm worried. I hope that Ange is going to find some solutions that I can't currently see. But I'm worried. I'm worried for Ange because you know my position on Ange, but I don't wish him ill. I wish him to succeed, but I'm starting to be very worried because he didn't take advantage of having a full squad by playing shit football for too long, and now, just as he was starting to put some good performances together, he's overcome by injuries. So he didn't make hay while the sun was shining. Now it's raining. Too late to get the hay in. I'm such a farmer. So
I think my understanding is Romero could be back for Bournemouth. It was a ligament issue in his foot, and apparently it's not going to be a major thing. He's back training, and he'll be okay for Bournemouth, or if not Bournemouth, then the game after that, which is Chelsea, I believe. Van der Ven is training. I've seen the photos. He's out doing sprints on the grass. How long it takes him to go from that? He's training with the ball, even better. So that means he's going to be
photos were with the ball,
weeks away. So because that's training with the ball that's the last step before getting back into full training with the rest of the full team. If he's there, that's fantastic. We need him because however good Ben Davies is, he's not the cheat code that Mickey Van der Ven is.
Oh, yeah, but up top, what do we do about Sonny?
I've got another question.
Move him left.
When Romero is fit again, should he be coming in immediately into the team?
Good point.
Because I'm going to rewind to before he was injured. Everybody was saying he should be dropped.
Yeah.
Everybody. Many people were saying that he should be dropped.
Yeah.
So now he's lost his place. Has Dragusin done enough to keep him out?
Could be.
I kind of have mixed feelings about it. But should he immediately come back to the team? This reminds me of when Kevin Wimmer came in for, I think it was Toby Alderweireld, all those years ago. Played actually very well. And as soon as Toby was fit, Wimmer was on the bench. Obviously, Toby Alderweireld, fantastic. It shocked me at the time because Wimmer had been very good. On merit, I think he deserved his place at the time.
Good point, Dave. I think Sonny and Cootie are kind of those two undroppable type players when maybe we should consider doing that.
I think defensively, Dragusin's been very good, but his long-range passing isn't anywhere near as good as Romero's.
For sure.
We've played a lot more long-range passes with Dragusin in the side than we were with Romero.
I was going to say, yeah,
that's true.
The one he did out to
Romero's are accurate,
but he did one out to Decky against Roma.
That's true.
Yes, he did.
Was although I think it was actually Decky was just extraordinary for that. He was absolutely extraordinary. I didn't really expect him to do anything with it, but he does do them. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I'll be honest. I just think.
It's a good point, though. It's a good point.
Mentally, it might be good to make him fight for his place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it might hurt his resale value, and I think that is potentially a big thing for this summer, because I don't see Romero being here after the summer. I think he's going to go. I think he'll go to Real Madrid.
But it's November, Stu.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. It's December. It's December, Stu. Sorry.
Yeah. But I tend to look forward to these things and say, right, what we're likely to expect during January, or what we're going to like to expect during the summer. Romero's contract has only got 2 seasons left on it, and it's kind of getting to the point where we would normally sell the player if they don't agree a new contract, and I don't see him signing a new contract at the moment.
Not if
so for me, with Vuskovic coming in, I suspect next season we'll see Dragoshin being the starter on the right with Vuskovic behind him. We'll see Van der Ven starting on the left with Ben Davies behind him, and we'll be trying to find someone to step up in the future. So we'll bring in some 18, 19-year-old.
Well, we've already got Ashley, what's his face, that came in from Blackburn, who's very Ashley Phillips.
Is he right-footed or left-footed? I think he plays on the right. I think it's
right.
Left.
And what about Dorrington? Yeah. I haven't seen him play at all. Anything?
He's injury problem after injury problem after injury problem, and I don't generally think he's going to make the step up that successfully.
No, I don't.
It's very rare for an academy player to be able to make that move. You just look at this season. You know, who have we had? We've had Mikey, who's played one or two games. Started anyway. We've not seen anything of him for a month because of a virus. Who knows? Well, Lancashire's been on the pitch, been on the bench mainly because he's been needed. It's not really out of choice. We don't have many other options. I don't think he's ready. I think he could be a very good striker option for us in the future, but right now I don't think he's ready. I mean, we're playing Luca Williams-Barnett. Luca Williams-Barnett is a great little player, but he's also very, very small and needs to do quite a bit of filling out before he's going to be appearing in the Premier League anytime soon. But we may need to force him, because there's so many injuries.
What about this Korean guy? Any chance that he might get any minutes when he comes?
Not this season.
We talked about him a bit earlier, and the consensus from the other guys was he's unlikely to get game time this year. He's coming in a fortnight today, and we reckon and that's earlier than he was originally scheduled to come in. So I think they want to assess him before he gets a chance, if he gets a chance at all.
So he was the K-League Young Player of the Season, and he was also in the K-League Top 11. He did not win the K-League Most Valuable Player, the MVP, although apparently he was in the reckoning for it. He had a fantastic season. He really did very, very well. But he's 18 years old, coming into a league for the first time. Going from the K-League to the Premier League is a massive jump. And apparently his English still is not particularly great, and he's got to do some work there as well. So, you know, there's a lot of things that he needs to do as a young man. And it might just be a bridge too far for it to expect him to come in and do something in the early part of the season. Maybe he'll get some minutes in the last game. Depends what we need.
Isn't that kind of like going from the Scottish Premier League to the English Premier League? Is that?
Do you know anyone
I think
that's
it's
done
like
that
going
lately?
from. I think it's like going from like National League North to Premier League. So.
Ashley,
Yes.
Prince Sardonicus appreciated that comment.
You're welcome.
T-shirts pending.
I love people who are sardonic, because you know what? The thing about you, Dave, is you do it with a sense of humor. Other people do it when they say it, they're mean about it, or if you say something back to them, they don't get it, that you're actually just taking the piss out of them, you know?
I try to be mean. I try not to be mean.
You're not a mean person, Dave. There you go.
I'm not a mean.
David, you're naturally mean.
I don't know what I think about
he
that.
is not. He was one of the first people to quit X, so he's absolutely not. He saw the way things were going, and he was out of there.
Yeah.
Hey, so do we get to? Is the Carabao Cup the week after next? Not this week. Next week. The week after next.
Let's have a look. I was looking at timings.
Probably is.
This is where I struggle. I did not have it up on the screen. Hang on. I do apologise to all of our viewers, all of our 0 viewers currently, but anybody who's currently watching, thank you for watching. If you've got this far, please like, subscribe, let us know whether you're enjoying this. Okay, right.
Bournemouth, Chelsea, and what's after that?
Okay, so we're currently in 7th place. We are 3 points off 3rd. Bournemouth, Chelsea, Rangers,
how many are we up
Southampton.
13th?
What's that again?
Not many.
Bournemouth, Chelsea.
Yeah. So,
And?
Bournemouth, Chelsea, Rangers, Southampton, Manchester United on the 19th of December.
After that. 2 weeks, okay.
Yeah. Then Liverpool, then Nottingham Forest, and then finally we get a break. We'll actually have 5 days between games instead of 4, because we got Newcastle on the 4th of January. Yeah. We've got a hell of a run coming up. We don't go more than 4 days without a game up until the 29th of December. It's a nuts fixture period right now.
Yeah. I'm worried for Ange.
Well,
He
with
needs
players
to get
coming back,
he needs to get points on the board earlier.
He needs points on the board, absolutely. But we're going to be able to rotate some players. Amazingly, our midfield is starting to look a bit weak. We looked fairly strong in midfield at the start of the season. But with injuries and suspensions now, we're starting to look a little bit threadbare. We just had to rest Decky because, however, I mean the guy's a machine. I think he's got 4 sets of lungs, but he can't do everything. He can't play every single game.
Like
Maddison, we're having to manage. Yeah, we're having to manage Maddison and his minutes because look at last season. It's just like attrition builds up and his ankles go. Basuma, we can't expect to play every single game. We're going to need to.
We're going to be playing
rotate
every
him.
single game for.
But he has to play every single game.
Do we know?
We won't.
When are we going to hear about the appeal on Bentancur's absolutely ridiculous ban?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
See, I told you.
Well, all we are appealing is the length of the ban.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be back. The earliest he can come back is the 22nd of December.
Okay.
We're not appealing the decision. We're appealing the latest of the ban.
And I'm not calling the fact that he's being banned ridiculous. Of course, he should have been banned. But 7 games is the most absolutely utter woke nonsense.
Good word.
So my thinking on this is he would have got a 6-game ban if he'd kept his mouth shut. If he just said, yes, hold my hand up, I made a mistake, I was wrong, I shouldn't have said what I said, I've apologised to the player in question, I've put an apology up on social media, I do apologise, it was wrong of me. I think he'd have got a 6-game.
Actually, no, I agree, Stu.
Which is the minimum they can give.
These PhD students doing their PhDs in cross-cultural studies should definitely know better.
I think the problem was he got up there and he basically his legal defense was, oh, I wasn't the one being racist, I was being sarcastic to the person who was being racist. And anyway, it just seemed like such an obvious cop out that the board went, well, we don't really like that, so I think they gave him an extra match because of it.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
What else can we?
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Subjects.
Yeah. Okay, so Gray might have gotten a center midfield start if he hadn't got kind of whacked in the last game. Maybe.
Probably only a dead leg though.
Well, apparently it's only a dead leg. He actually played in midfield for 5 minutes, which is the position we've all been asking for him to play for much of the season.
And actually, we haven't said this. Archie Gray. When we signed him, I just thought everybody's going about he's really good, but he looks about 5 years old. What the hell?
Yeah.
He's of the new signings, he is the one, of the youngsters that is just really impressing me with his maturity, his composed way of playing, his willingness to go and play any area of the pitch which Ange tells him to, and not make an absolute mess of it. I just really like. I just think he's wonderful. He's wonderful.
I agree.
He has been excellent.
I think Bergval's
his
going to be
composure on
good.
the ball, his technique. Bergval is what I think has been good, but he's looked, when he's been given the chance, he's looked off the pace, I think. Whereas when Gray comes in, there was maybe 5 or 10 minutes in his first game where you're like, okay, he's not quite at it yet, but he adapted quickly, and he's been brilliant ever since. I mean, he slalomed past people in the box in like his 3rd or 4th game. Okay, very happy to see that. I'd rather you didn't have to. If you're going to do that, can you do it further up the pitch a little bit? I don't know.
The other box.
He's got that composure. He's got that ability. And the best thing he did after that was he just picked out a pass and played the ball calmly. He just looks like someone who will knit things together really, really nicely and will be with us hopefully for the next 10, 15 years because he's that young.
Did any of you see his great uncle?
No,
Eddie Gray.
Was it Eddie Gray? Was that? I didn't realise that was his great uncle.
No, that's his great uncle,
Yeah,
and
the Gray
Frankie
family.
Gray was his grandfather.
All right.
And Frankie was a very solid workmanlike fullback, but Eddie Gray was a footballer, and he was
winger?
fantastic.
Winger,
And
was he?
Archie is in that bracket.
Was he a winger, Austin? Was he a winger?
Yes,
for
he
Leeds?
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look up highlights of Eddie Gray on YouTube, just look at it, and you'll see Archie Gray in the making.
I think we've got we've got the real deal there.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah, no, I think he's excellent. I think we've got the same with Bergval as well. I think when Bergval came on in the latest game against Fulham, he didn't actually look out of place.
Yeah,
he came on. He actually looked. Yeah, he looked like he was up to speed. Which against Galatasaray, he looked like he was 15 years old playing against 25-year-old players.
Yeah. But I think that was a
and this one,
was a particular match, that the Galatasaray. I don't think any of the players.
But
had
in other
experienced
games as well this season, he hasn't looked
Agreed.
up to speed. He hasn't looked like he's adapted or acclimatized. But this game, he came in and suddenly he looked like a player. He wasn't doing anything amazingly special. But what he did was composed and mature to a point. We haven't seen like the crossing that we saw from him in pre-season against QPR. He was crossing like Beckham.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff will come as he gets more used to playing games, and I think we need to integrate him into the squad and into games more often, because Barcelona were after him and we got him. And we need to take advantage of that because he looks like a very, very good player. But at the same time, Archie Gray needs to play minutes, whether it's at right back, whether it's at centre midfield. And I want it to be at centre midfield because I think that's where his future is going to be.
Oh, I think he's a perfect number 6 or number 8. I think he'd walk both those positions if he was given time.
Bergval.
No, Archie Gray.
Oh, Archie Gray, yeah.
Archie Gray.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were still on Bergval.
It's all right. Don't
Archie
worry.
Gray has
Don't
such a
listen to
high
me, David.
ceiling.
I don't care.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm still waiting for Mikey to come in and show us what he can really do. We've seen hints. We saw 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, where he looked like one of the world's best players. But having watched him in the academy, having watched him play games in the lower sides, I've been like, yeah, this kid can do it for longer, and we need to get him fit, obviously, get him out on the pitch and give him the ball in positions where he can cause damage to the opposition, and just build his confidence to the point where he is doing that.
We've also
and I
got
think
Alfie Devine and
confidence to do
Jamie
it.
Donnelly to come back from loan, and I think both of those are going to make it. Whether they make it with us, I'm not sure, but I really rate both of them.
But one of them's not doing too well on loan, if I remember correctly. I'm not
Donnelly,
sure which one.
Donnelly's not excelling. If we're going to hang on, if we're going to talk about Leyton Orient loanees, can we talk about the goalkeeper?
Have you seen it? Did you see it? Mental.
Yes, yeah. Oh wow, what a goal. Did you see his celebration? He celebrated like an experienced forward. The knee slide, arms behind him, everything. Oh, what a goal. Yeah, I think that was probably the second best goalkeeper's goal I've seen since Jimmy Glass. It was fantastic.
As a Carlisle supporter, it's going to remain second best as well. Jimmy Glass saved my club, saved my other club anyway.
Ashley, did you see that goal?
I didn't. Was it an overhead kick or a header or what was it?
It was a goalkeeper scoring.
Yeah, but what was it though? A header? What was it?
It's a header, I think. Yeah. Hang on a minute.
It was a header. So there was a free kick. There was a free kick. It was pumped into the centre, and you can share it on screen.
Shall I?
Yeah.
Probably not, because I think we'll get we'll have a copyright strike against us. But,
okay. I'll forget it.
I would.
Good point.
I would encourage everybody to go and have a look, because it's a fantastic goal.
What's his name?
Josh
Keeley. Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah,
cheers.
it's worth watching. It's a very, very good header. If you watched it, you'd be like, oh yeah, central defender did that, or an experienced striker. No, that's a goalkeeper. I think that was the second best goalkeeping moment of the week. I don't know if you saw in the Champions League. Who was it? It was the Bayern Munich goalkeeper dribbled past Ousmane Dembele, and by doing so, he actually completed more dribbles in a match than Ousmane Dembele and Barcola, both of whom are wingers. So that was okay. We'll take that as fun.
By the way,
I think he might have done actually. But it was later on,
Forster made one hell of a save. Wasn't it against Roma, against Hummel's bicycle kick? Wasn't that one hell of a save that he made?
Against Roma, he made
two or three very good saves.
2 or 3.
But that particular one, because it would have been a great goal if they had scored. It was an overhead kick.
The one he made point blank, just seconds before they scored, was absolutely fantastic. Maybe it's that one you mean. It was point blank, and
yeah.
I mean, it was close to him, but he had to have strong arms.
Good for Forster.
Great save. Yeah.
Yep. T quadruple F.
Yeah.
David, have you got a self-topping up wine glass there?
No, what I'm doing is I've got a bottle here, and what I do is I do this. I pass it under out, and now it's over here. You see, gone underneath, and then back up, and then underneath and back up. So
isn't that what Man City does with its finances?
It's empty now.
Exactly.
Doesn't Man City do that with its finances?
Self-topping up, yeah.
In one side, out
David's quintessentially French, so.
Just very quickly, what do we reckon about Amanda Staveley? Do you think she's going to get a chunk of the club?
Hope not.
I have feelings about this. I really hope not, because she's backed by Middle East money, and I don't think that is the way we want to be going.
How is that going to go down with Daniel Levy? Jewish with Far East money?
Daniel Levy has said that if he's open to investment from other people, but he wants to stay on as chairman. Honestly, I think if money comes in, they're probably going to want to install their own person as chairman. And well, the main reason for that is because they're going to want to open up the taps a bit and spend a bit more money, and we have the overhead to do that. We just need to have cash in the bank. We typically, we've got something like 200 million euros or pounds in our bank account, but that's to cover outgoing transfer fees, because it's Daniel Levy. We have a lot of transfer fees negotiated over periods of time, and we need to have money in the bank to actually show that we can pay that, which is why we have a lot of money in the bank. A lot of clubs don't have that level of finance in their bank accounts. But we have, I think, the biggest potential gap between the money we're spending and the money we can spend on wages next season. So I think Man City also have like 60 million or something they can spend extra.
Yeah, but we're talking about real
if they're
clubs.
not relegated. Yeah.
But
But
I'm not
Amanda
keen on
Staveley,
Amanda Staveley. I'm not keen on sort of becoming an oil baron's sort of plaything.
No, I'm not.
sports washing.
But I am not against Daniel Levy being forced out. I'm not what is it, golden purple or whatever it is. I'm not like Enoch out, Levy out or whatever. But when Levy fired Harry Redknapp, he fired him saying he's not the man to take us to the next level. What I actually think is that Danny Levy's done a fantastic job, an amazing job getting us to the level that we're at, but he's not the man to take us to the next level. He's failed for, let's say, 7 years now to take us to the next level, and I'd like somebody else, somebody better in charge.
I disagree.
Maybe Langer. Maybe Langer is the man. Maybe we've got the solution in place now. Like I said, I'm not golden purple and Enoch out, Levy out or whatever. I just think that it's been too long. Mourinho was a disastrous appointment. Conte was a disastrous appointment. The 2 or 3 transfer windows. Well, yeah, true. So there's just been too much errors since we've got to this top 4 or thereabouts level on a consistent basis. We need somebody else to take us over the top.
Dave, I hope he doesn't have a clause that says chairman for life. Despite the fact that somebody else comes in, I'm still chairman for life.
Yeah.
Don't own a club, I get to stay chairman. For me, I have issues going back quite a long way. The Stratford thing, I kind of understood. I always looked at it as like a stalking horse. He was using it as a threat against the Tottenham Council to try and get what he wanted. But it does seem as though he would have moved us there if he had the opportunity. I thought that would have been horrible. So I wasn't a fan of the potential Stratford move. Sacking Yol at half-time, I thought was horrible. Not giving Pochettino another chance to rebuild the squad again. He'd let him do it once and should have basically just said, right, okay, you're not happy with these players. Some of them aren't happy with you. We'll gut the squad. We'll bring them in again. Yes, it would have meant losing players like Toby Alderweireld and probably Harry Kane at the same time. But we needed to have a significant changeover, and we didn't do it. There's been loads of things. The senior citizens losing their discounts. There's lots of things. Just it's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. The reason why I'm not Levy out is because under Daniel Levy, we have steadied as a club. We've built the infrastructure. We built a brand new stadium, and we haven't loaded the club with such stupid amounts of unmanageable debt like Everton have, that the club risks not existing in the future. Frankly, as long as the club is there for my kids to enjoy in 20-25 years time,
enjoy is a very relative word.
Enjoy is the issue, yes.
Austin,
if somebody comes in, go on.
Sorry, Austin, I was going to say something just then.
What was I going to say? I've been a supporter since 1962. My first game was the cup final in 1962. So Jimmy Greaves consigned me to 60 years of misery, with the odd happy blip in between. But I think now the club are in the best position they've been in the whole of my life. And I think that, yes, Levy's made mistakes. And yes, Martin Yol at halftime was shocking. Mourinho, I understood why he did it, but he repeated the mistake with Conte. But I think we've got a guy now who could very possibly take us to some glory. And if he takes us to glory, then I'm happy with Levy. We've got a great stadium. We've got a club that plays intermittently fantastic football. We've got a great academy. We've got a great training facility. And having waited for 60 years, I can wait for a couple of years more.
Do you know what my biggest
Fair
concern is? My biggest concern is look through the Premier League and you tell me one absolutely outstanding chairman. Give me one. No, actually, I can give you one. Give me two. Ignore Tony Bloom. Give me another one.
Is that Brighton?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brighton,
I was going to go for Brighton.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tony
so
Bloom's the only one I can look at
Okay.
and go, he's the number one. He's if Tony Bloom wanted to come in and take over Spurs, welcome.
Yeah.
You know,
So
bye,
there's
Daniel.
I don't really know those things, but I think there's a few very well run clubs that are punching above their weight, and I don't think I'm not going to present the solution, and the solution might be Justin Langer, you know, in which case I hope it is. Just my feeling is that Levy, he's fourth, fifth place at best in what he's going to do for the club, and that's no longer enough.
My understanding from what I've read is that Levy's trying to step back. That's why he's brought in people like Langer. That's why he's brought in Munn. You know, Scott Munn is the guy who's supposed to be coming in and taking over the football side of things. Levy wants to concentrate on the hotel. He wants to concentrate on the back office side of things. He doesn't want to be concentrating on the football side of things because I think he recognises that's not where his strengths lie. I think a lot of us know that's not where his strengths lie. So I think he's trying to step back. I think his ego potentially isn't allowing him to, because apparently he still gets involved in like the final negotiations of various little bits and pieces. He needs to take that step back. He needs to trust the people. But that is often what happens with companies that grow. The person that grew the company to the size it gets, where it's almost outgrown them, suddenly needs to step back and let the people he's employed do the jobs he's employed them for.
That's called the
he doesn't do that.
S-shaped theory of company development.
I did not know
Can I
that.
say
But
one
this
more
is my
thing?
that's
Well, there
just
you
my
go.
natural feeling. Of course you
You
can.
can look it up on Google. Look up the S-shaped development.
I will.
Yeah.
We have been without trophy now for 13 or 14 years or whatever it's been. 16, is it? I come
14.
to think of it. But in that time, since the Premiership was conceived, and certain clubs rose to prominence in the days of Alan Sugar, we were a long way behind financially. Yet since the days of Harry Redknapp, we've been in the Champions League half a dozen times, I guess, and we've actually got through to a Champions League final. In my lifetime, we'd only been to the semi-final of the European Cup once. So if you say Daniel Levy hasn't been a success, he has been a success. No, we haven't won titles, but there've been clubs with far more money that have bought their way into success. And Levy, by running the club properly and making a profit, has actually got us to compete with the biggest clubs on the planet financially. And I think that's a fantastic.
And I completely agree with what you say, Austin. I'm not taking away from what Levy has achieved, but I think the height of his achievement was more or less when we opened the stadium, and since then he has not been able to capitalise on what he put in place. And I just think that now we need somebody else to capitalise on that. I just think it's to get. When I say that I would like him to change it, I'm not shitting on his legacy. Okay, I think what he's done is extraordinary. What I've seen over the last 10, 15 years is extraordinary. But for the last 6 years, we've stagnated or gone backwards. And that's not good.
I disagree with that,
My biggest concern with him, and I think Ange has bucked the trend on this one, every considered managerial appointment he's made has been a disaster. Every one he's been forced into making because of stuff that's going on around him has actually worked out. If you look, Martignol was forced upon him. He did, he had to make a quick decision, and he went with Martignol, and I thought Martignol was very good. Santini shit the bed, and Martignol stepped up. Ramos came in. Ramos was a considered decision. Ramos was an absolute disaster. He might have won us a cup, but he was a disaster.
Yeah.
Then suddenly we had to get rid of him, and we brought in Harry Redknapp. And Harry Redknapp was almost like, oh shit, who do we get us out of trouble? And suddenly we were playing some very, very good football. And I keep thinking back, there was like the defensive setup from back in those days was let them have the ball, funnel them out wide, and let them pinging it in. But we've got some big ass defenders who can head the ball out the way, and we'll push from there. That was his way of defending. But then he left, and AVB, the considered opinion, was brought in, and he was not great. I remember David absolutely blowing his top about him.
That was
in a
incandescent
pub
when he
once.
was
Yes.
I went mental on that.
And then we had Poch. Poch was again, came in mid-season, and suddenly probably our best manager in I don't know how long since who was our
Terry
best manager
Venables.
before that? Terry Venables, right?
Venables,
Birkinshaw was before him, yeah. So
Yeah, Venom.
Then Poch gets sacked, and you know that Mourinho was lined up well before that, because there's no way that deal gets done in a day. That was his considered opinion. We're gonna sack Pochettino. We're gonna bring in Mourinho because Mourinho is a trademark winner. And I thought that was potentially the most damaging decision that Daniel Levy has ever made, because frankly he damaged my confidence in him on that day. If you're going to sack Pochettino, he needed to go for Nagelsmann. That would have been one of the few managers that I would have countenanced bringing in.
Who was that?
Julian Nagelsmann. He was available, and we should have gone for him. So I think we missed out on that one. And then after that, we just again, Mourinho went, and we've got time to sit down, and we're going to make a considered decision. And they went for Nuno. Now Nuno seems like a lovely guy at Nottingham Forest. He's doing a great job, but at Tottenham, really, really poor. So he goes, and they bring in Antonio Conte, who's another considered winner, and he was awful for us. So, and then he goes, and finally, a considered decision seems to have actually considered some fairly salient points, like what are we trying to do as a football club? Are we trying to entertain? Are we trying to build something? So they brought in a guy who builds up clubs, who brings in players and develops them, and wins things in his second season. So he says. I'm sure. I think he will. I was saying earlier today that I think we'll be in the Champions League next year, but it won't be through our league position. We're going to get in the Champions League because we're going to win the Europa League. But to win the Europa League, we may well need to prioritise it ahead of some league games.
We've gone on.
It's
really
the most
far too
winnable
long.
competition, I think.
We've gone on too long, haven't we?
No, we can go on as long as we like. It's only been an hour and a half.
I gotta go.
All right, okay. Well, we'll call it a day there. So I'm actually doing a special CADS podcast on Friday night. I'm doing it with some people from Blue Sky. So if everybody wants to tune in and say hello. David, everyone's lovely over there. Come and say hello.
Social media.
So, yeah.
Won't go on it.
So come in, tune in, and join us with some new faces, some new names. I will be here with some new people, and of course we'll be back after the next game, which will be Chelsea, after the Chelsea game, and stay with us until then.
Well,
Until then,
enjoy,
everybody, thank you
enjoy
very
yourself,
much for joining
enjoy
us.
yourself with your new friends, Stu.
The Skylanders, indeed. All right, everybody, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Cheers all.
Austin, David, Ashley, thank you again. You guys are gents for joining me every single time. And until next time, come on, you
Cheers.
Spurs.